Welcome. Now we'll briefly discuss a very interesting research process called reverse engineering and its potential applicability to a qualitative humanities research. We have already stated in our earlier videos that the academic theories are the main plus points in our humanities research. The main strength of the humanities research is its diverse academic theories. And one such interesting theory is reverse engineering, which is rarely utilized or exploited in our research. Reverse engineering tends to mean reproduction of an existing product, which may be a text, a theory, a word, or any intangible sort of object by first deconstructing, that is disassembling, and then reconstructing or reassembling its various parts. Reverse engineering is frequently used in business management, and then it is grabbed by the computer scientists who utilized it to its full extent, full potential in their research, particularly in the field of developing computer languages like C++ and Java. Now it is high time for the humanities researchers that they should come forward and utilize this in their research also. Indeed, it may be useful in researches of comparative philology, historical linguistics, paleography, genres of literature, etc. So it has a wide scope of application in humanities research, including Sanskrit and Indological researches and other humanistic social sciences. But exactly how do you reverse engineer a product? That is the main point. How should you execute this unique research process called reverse engineering? There are basically 5 steps to be followed by the researcher. Simple 5 steps. The researchers have to follow, first of all, they have to figure out the goal of their research. That is to say, identify the object. Maybe they'll be willing to, restructure the Rousseau theory, that is the theory of sentiment as propounded in the Indian poetics, or intertextuality or transtextuality of various legends, for example, Udayana legends, Shakuntala legends, Ramakatha, Sri Krishna Katha, etc. in Sanskrit literature, or even trace the development of various cognate kinds of words to Sanskrit literature. For example, nritto, nartana, nato, natto, natako. These are the words that have like-sounded features. So by reverse engineering, one can easily trace their development and origin and development to the Sanskrit sources. This is the first step to be followed by the researcher. Secondly, he has to scan the product. Scan the product by sort of breaking it into different parts reasonably into some meaningful units. For example, nritto, the researcher can easily divide it into 2 parts, nri and tyo. So these 2 are basically meaningful units. This is the second step to be followed. The third step is the most important perhaps in the entire process. The researchers have to identify the building blocks and also the missing links. That is to say, when the theories have diverged into different avenues and maybe at some point of time once again converged into a single path, it's called the missing link or the building blocks. By the term building block, we actually understand the most important and significant contributor to a product or a concept. For instance, amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. And the same way, nucleotides are the building blocks of DNA. So building blocks are the most important contributors to a process, and the researchers who are working on reverse engineering in their works must understand the factors that have actually contributed to their theory. This is the third point. Then we have to come to the fourth point, that is the fourth step. Using the top-bottom technique meaning upward to downward, he has to get to the first step. So it's like deconstructing a garland, sort of bisecting the garland into different parts and different units, and then coming back to the first step when the flowers are assembled and accumulated, and subsequently they are linked, they are grouped together and linked to other groups so as to form a garland. So this is quite like a making of a garland. Fifth and final step, the researcher had to restart executing the entire process from the first step onwards. That is much in the same way as the Sanskrit grammarians performed the grammatical actions called Padashadhana Prakriya, the grammatical derivation of the words from a verbal root called root bhu, lot ti, straightway up to the final form of bhavati. So these are the 5 steps that need to be followed by the humanities researchers if they're willing to undertake reverse engineering and apply reverse engineering in their works. Now, I'll give you a couple of examples where the reverse engineering has been wonderfully and effectively exploited by at least 2 modern European scholars. One by the eminent Dutch-Canadian scholar Wim Borsboom, who is a real specialist on the Indus Valley civilization. He has demonstrated that the European alphabetical system had been actually modeled after the Indian syllabary some 3,000 years back. And the theory, the research method he applied in his research was reverse engineering. So he started firstly from the beginning to the last step, and then came back from the last step to the first step, and once again from the last step to the first step. So this is kind of homecoming. It's a kind of a homecoming of a person who has traveled far away. So this is reverse engineering is all about. Another example has been set by James Robinson Cooper, who is also a European scholar. He has demonstrated that all ancient Greek words can be traced to Sanskrit words, can be traced to Sanskrit verbal roots or other pratipadikas. So he tried to establish the fact, a new theory with the help of reverse engineering, that several proper nouns, for instance Alexander, Cleopatra, Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, all these important proper nouns had actually their origin in Sanskrit sources. For instance, Alexander is a combination of 2 Greek words, Zander and Alex, that are representative of Sanskrit Araksha and Nara. So Alexander actually means Araksha Nara, which is a Sanskrit word. Their hypotheses obviously still remain to be properly recognized in the scholarly circle, but they had actually been able to produce something new in their research with the help of reverse engineering. So reverse engineering is not a matter of easy getting. It takes some time, and it requires sort of an experience on the part of the researchers to utilize well, to utilize effectively and forcefully and fruitfully in their research. But there is no doubt that reverse engineering, if applied properly, if utilized properly in humanities research, it will definitely give the researchers sort of a piggyback ride for their own advantage. So that is reverse engineering is all about, and I hope it is sufficient for at least an introduction to the outstanding theory. Thank you very much for watching. Namaskar.